Now, look, the real issue we face is cost of living. People in this country are getting poorer. Costs soaring, wages not. But we've got both the Liberals and Labor both obsessing with global warming policies that are going to just make this worse, and both sides in all sorts of strife. Let me go back to Labor's strife. Even its Resources Minister today admitting that state global warming policies, like the Victorian Labor governments in particular, but also New South Wales, are helping to cause this critical shortage of gas, with prices through the roof. Joining me is the former Resources Minister, Keith Pitt, of the Nationals. Keith Pitt, thank you for your time. Have I got this right? We have state governments choosing to limit or even ban gas exploration to save the planet, even though our cuts will make no difference, purely symbolic, while the effects on people are terrible. They can't afford their gas or electricity if they're poor. This is putting ideology above reality, then the planet above people. True or not?
That's exactly right. I mean, Victoria's had a moratorium on exploration for 8 years. As a result, they've run out of gas. And I think the only message you can give to Victorian manufacturers is your state government doesn't want you there. If you want cheap and reliable gas, you'll have to move, and that's likely to Queensland or Western Australia.
But given that it's a useless gesture, right? These policies will not change the climate. It's to show that we care, set an example that most of the world doesn't seem to be following anyway. Useless gestures. The opposition leader, Peter Dutton, your opposition leader, has told MPs today, we're told, that he wants even higher emission targets than the opposition had going into the election, although not quite as high as Labor's. What targets are you talking about and why?
Oh, that's not my understanding from the meeting at all. And I've reconfirmed that this afternoon. Our position is we are opposed to Labor's legislation. We think it's bad legislation, and it shouldn't be put through the House. And there's not much point setting targets for anything 2 months after the election has just gone that we've lost. We're better off looking at those things in the months leading up to the next one in 2025. No one's looking to establish a policy right now. We'll be opposing Labor's legislation on emissions because we think it'll be damaging and in particular to cost of living. They just are not explaining what the cost will be, and in fact they appear not to care.
Keith, you've given me some reassurance there. We had heard reports he was going to pitch a target. He was looking at a target between your last one and the next one. You're saying not true, correct?
Well, I saw the banner on Sky News and immediately followed up what my understanding was, and it's been confirmed that there's no position on that at all. It'll be developed over a period of time, what we take to the next election. But we'll be opposing Labor's position because it's wrong and it'll cost a fortune.
Well, I'm glad you said it was wrong. I had your energy spokesman here last week. He couldn't even say that, but this is good. You are also open now to switching to nuclear power, like France. Peter Dutton says he wants a discussion about it. I don't know why they simply can't make a call, why we need a discussion. But the government's climate change minister mocked that today. Here he is, Chris Bowen.
Their answer to rising energy prices is to put more of the most expensive form of energy, nuclear, into the system. That's their answer. That's the Leader of the Opposition's big announcement today, that he supports the most expensive form of energy available, nuclear energy. Well done. Well done.
Now, it is true that nuclear is more expensive than coal, isn't it? We should be looking at more coal rather than nuclear.
Oh, well, that's true. Once you add on CCS, for example, you can get a 90% reduction with Healy coal-fired power stations on your emissions. But nuclear is a 15-year plus prospect, and we think that the Australian people are up for a conversation. It is 100% emissions free, it is reliable, it works all the time, it's a technology used around the world. But you've got to be able to answer the fundamental questions, which is where would it go, where would those facilities be, what do you do with the waste? And I think there'll be communities out there that would volunteer. But I trust the Australian people. I think they'll be able to have an informed opinion on these things and a discussion which is done in a collegiate way. It's only the Labor Party that wants to run off on this sort of rhetoric for something which has worked around the world and works 100% of the time, 24/7.
Yeah, but Keith Pitt, I mean, I know you've looked into this stuff very carefully. You've had other MP, the former Resources Minister Matt Canavan has too. You know, nuclear, there's no logical reason to ban nuclear. You might say it's not as cheap as coal, whatever, but we've actually got a ban on it for nuclear power. Why can't you simply say, look, we know it's stupid, this ban, we're just going to remove it? Why do you need a conversation?
Well, you've got to bring the Australian people with you. And to be honest, there's not a lot of information out there because it's not something that's been utilised in Australia much before, apart from for nuclear medicine. I mean, the process we used to establish the radioactive waste facility for low-level waste in South Australia was exactly this one. We asked for people to volunteer for their communities where there was support. There was a technical assessment that narrowed the field down, and there was a final a position taken for Kimber in South Australia, where they had over 60% local support. You just can't build these things if people don't support them. But I think it's an important technology that continues to change, it continues to mature, and there's an opportunity for Australia, particularly when you look at AUKUS. We're going to have some nuclear-powered submarines in the near future, and we'll need a facility and we'll need people across the country that can manage those things.
We need nuclear expertise in this country, absolutely. Keith Pitt, thank you so much for your time.